There was an absolutely insane number of games released on the PC platform in 2025. I'm scrolling through a list here at PC Gamer. All my sources will be in the video description. And I read through this list to see if I was just forgetting anything. And I certainly haven't played every single one of these games. So I'm going to narrow this down to the games I actually have experience with to talk about. Also, I did look at the December releases from 2024 because I didn't really have a chance to consider them in 2024. And in the December 2024 releases, I pulled Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So just letting you know, that's the only game in my list today that was not actually a 2025 release, but I didn't really get a chance to play it until 2025, given it was such a late 2024 release. And that's where I've narrowed it down to this selection of games. These are games that I feel like I actually have enough experience to talk about. So what is this list I'm making today? Because my channel is primarily about PC performance and gaming PCs, etc. It's not so much about the games themselves, but this list is going to be mostly about the games themselves. Sometimes people do actually ask me, what do I think about the games? And when I'm benchmarking stuff, do I actually play it? So here's the approach, kind of the filter for this list. So basically, given that I do benchmark games on the channel, I'm able to buy and play the beginning of to test out almost every big major release. However, the vast majority of them don't really grab my attention. So a lot of them, I just stop playing because they're not interesting to me after the first few hours. But it does give me a chance to try a lot of games. So these aren't necessarily games that I have completed, but I am going to rank them because some of them are games that I've just decided weren't good. They did not grab my interest. I'm done with it. It's going to rank low on my list. Now, other games are games that I want to come back to, but didn't really have a lot of time to play. So when we're looking at our tier list, I do have a tier for, I intend to give this more time later, but I didn't really have a chance to play it. Other stuff grabbed my attention more during 2025, but it's a game that I don't want to rank low because it's actually one where I'm like, ooh, I want to come back to this. Also, my channel is primarily about PC performance. So when I rank each of these games, I'm going to give you thoughts on what I thought about the PC performance of the game, but also the overall ranking is going to be more like how much I liked the game, but the way it performs and looks, can be part of that ranking. So anyway, I know this is a little bit of a different sort of format for my channel. If you're not interested in what I think about games, then feel free to tune out. But if you are interested, because I do get comments asking about this quite a bit, here we go. And these aren't, the order I dropped them in here is just, I was kind of going through the list of games released, and then if it was one I had actual thoughts about, I went ahead and pulled an image for it here, dropped it into here in no particular order. So we're really going through this in no particular order. Also, as we drop things into the tier list, I can, of course, change things as we go, etc. But let's go ahead and just jump right in the order they happen to be in here, although I might just kind of come back to some as I maybe have some more thoughts. Actually, the first one that just jumps out at me is I have some very strong opinions about is Monster Hunter Wilds. So Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm going to be honest. So again, my channel talks about PC performance, but then I'm also talking about how much do I actually enjoy the game. And I've got to say that this is a game that stood out to me as I hated absolutely everything about it. Now, I'll also give you the caveat of I didn't finish this game. I didn't come anywhere close to finishing even the normal single player story mode, which wasn't even that long because honestly, I just hated the game too much. So I'm not a big Monster Hunter player, to be clear, but games like Monster Hunter Worlds, I played a good 10 or 15 hours of it before I got bored of it, and I didn't actually hate it, I just got more interested in other things. Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm going F tier in everything about it from my Now, to be clear, this is my personal list. You can completely disagree. But Monster Hunter Wilds, I hated. Like, honestly, just the beginning of the game, the combat felt very clunky and uninteresting, while also being it seemed easy but also boring, and felt bad to control. There was way too many, just like it felt both overcomplicated and too easy at the same time. It's very difficult to describe. And at the same time, there's also some games, I'm going to be honest, some games like visually capture my attention. Monster Hunter Wilds, I feel like every character, I was trying to figure out how to even describe what it looks like to me, but for some reason it looks to me like everything is carved out of, I was watching a baking show with my kids because they like baking shows, and when they were trying to make sculptures out of desserts and stuff, it almost felt like the characters in this game are carved out of chocolate or something with fondant over the top. It's weird how everything manages to look so bad while also running terribly. So this is a game where it's an example of my personal F tier. The actual gameplay itself, I could not stand, and the performance on PC I thought was terrible. And I can look past performing bad if it's blowing me away visually, but I also just think it's a genuinely ugly game. It actually just is extremely off-putting to look at. So this is a game that I can't stand playing, and I can't stand looking at, and I can't stand how badly it runs on PC. So that's an example of an F-tier game for me. So to help sort out these tier lists, maybe it's time for me to pull out something that I would instantly jump to as an S-tier game. And I'm going to go with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I know this, at this point, after, winning the Game Awards, etc., probably doesn't feel like a very, original pick. But if you guys go watch my video where I benchmarked this game, when it kind of came out of nowhere, I put out a video on it within a few hours of its release, if I'm remembering correctly. And I instantly said, I've only played the first few hours of this, but this game just absolutely grabbed my attention. Again, I try out the beginning of every major release, at least to test it out on the channel. And honestly, a lot of games, I'm not that interested. I've played this gameplay before, I've heard this story before, there's nothing here grabbing my attention, even if there's nothing wrong with the game. Expedition 33, what really grabbed me was the opening story. The setting of it was not only gorgeous, but also just again, I don't want, if you haven't played it yet, I don't want to spoil any sort of plot spoilers, anything like that. But just I found it actually managed to grip me emotionally. And I was extremely interested to find out more about this world because it was so unusual, but also beautiful and sad. And everything about that intro just grabbed me, and I had to keep playing the game. And I've played so many games these days that it's really hard for a game to just grab my complete attention from the start. And then it needs to hold it. And I did end up just every free minute I had, I probably produced fewer videos on the channel because of it during the time period I was playing this. The gameplay absolutely held my attention. The builds get more interesting as you go. This is an example of an S-tier game. And so when I'm thinking S-tier, I'm thinking these are games that will be remembered, decades from now. It's not just a good game, but it's an all-time great game. Now, I'm not saying the greatest game of all time, but it's something special. So there's an example of something special. Now, thoughts on the PC performance. It was fine. For an Unreal Engine 5 game, I would say it was better than is typical. So it performed better than most Unreal Engine 5 games, while the art direction carried it to where a lot of it looked gorgeous. Now, I will say that the one thing that let me down a bit, graphically, is the character models during cutscenes, etc. I felt like the overall animations and the hair looked a little bit odd, even on the max settings, etc. So there were little bits where you could tell it was done by a smaller studio, but I can easily look past some of that. Amazing game that didn't also manage to not have major technical issues for an Unreal Engine 5 game, especially one made by a smaller studio. Now, another category I have here that's a little bit it's not on my ranking system that maybe we should grab a game for here, is I intend to give this more time later. So I'm really interested in playing Ninja Gaiden 4. Now, I ended up not doing a benchmark video of this on the channel. I was interested in doing it, but oftentimes I cover system requirements lists, and if that video gets very few views, I'm like, man, can I really invest a ton of time producing a bunch of benchmark content on this if it doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest in the game? So I'm interested in playing Ninja Gaiden 4. But I just haven't had a lot of time to invest in that at this point. But I am interested in this from the little bit I've played and the reviews I've looked into. Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox was one of my top games of all time. And so I've been looking for the game to kind of get back into form. I've seen mixed opinions on this one. So this is one I just want to give more time to. And I don't feel like I've played enough of it to actually rank at this point. Now let me find something that I would probably consider C tier from the start. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was impressed with a lot of the technical aspects of the game. I loved how interactive the world was from a technical standpoint. I really liked that, when you cut through the bamboo, it actually slices where the sword hits. It was an interesting ray traced global illumination system for the game that had a lot of visual appeal to it. But I found from a technical standpoint, the scalability, I wish that it scaled a bit lower. I felt like, I don't know how to put it. I think because a lot of the simulations they were doing on the GPU, I found like I wanted there to be able to get more performance out of it without completely destroying the visual look. Also, from the gameplay standpoint, it's Assassin's Creed. It's fine if you're interested in that style. I played it for a number of hours to benchmark it, and then I was enjoying it enough to play it for another 5 or 6 hours after I was done benchmarking it, and then I just kind of lost interest. I don't think it's a bad game. It's just there's no way I'm going to invest the 100 hours or whatever into a lot of game design nowadays. I feel like is just I'm not the target audience, where it's like massive checklists of things to do. Whereas I feel like Expedition 33 is an example of a game that didn't overstay its welcome. It is short enough that it kind of cut a lot of filler, and there's a lot of interesting optional endgame content that you can do that's also really interesting, but you don't need to do it, and it's not jam-packed. I don't like lists of boring stuff, and Assassin's Creed games tend to just become a list of boring things to do. If you have some 10 out of 10 content mixed into a game with a lot of 6 out of 10 content, but most of the gameplay seems to be the 6 out of 10 content, it kind of brings down the overall quality of the game, and I just tend to lose interest. Whereas, with Expedition 33, I felt like it offered enough side content that you could do or could ignore that was decent quality, and some of the optional endgame content is 10 out of 10. And then the overall more focused narrative was often 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 stuff. That the overall quality felt solid, whereas games like this are examples of games where, again, it's fine if you're somebody who buys 1 or 2 games a year, that, maybe you're a kid who gets a game for Christmas and a game for your birthday, and you just want tons of stuff to do. This gives you a ton of stuff to do. But I just feel like a lot of it's just kind of boring for me, and I'm not interested in clearing a bunch of checklists off of a map for that many hours. Let me go see if anything else just instantly jumps out as easy to rank for me. Okay, Battlefield 6. I'm going to be honest, now that I'm kind of old and most of my gamer friends where, I think multiplayer games were more fun when I was younger, high school age, where, for me, it was Halo was the big stuff then. Halo 2, Xbox Live first came out, on the game all the time. It's a social experience, etc. Now, that most of my, once you're all like parents, it's so hard to actually get focused gaming time together. So now oftentimes multiplayer stuff is solo queue for me. And so the actual gameplay itself needs to hold up. So Battlefield 6 is one of the very few multiplayer games that has actually managed to grab my attention. Oftentimes I'll check him out for benchmarking purposes, and I'm just like, I'm just not interested in this. Now, Battlefield 6, I spent a lot of time with. I really enjoyed the gameplay, had a lot of fun with it, although now I'm kind of done with it, to be honest. And honestly, as soon as they added the Battle Pass, I kind of lost interest. I think I'm just old, where it's like, I like playing the game for the gameplay's sake. And once it becomes about unlocking stuff, I'm just no longer interested. I think it's, again, similar thing to why, like, not interested in this style of gameplay that much. Unlocking a bunch of stuff, not that interested. Playing the actual game, great. So I got my fill of it. I think it's still a great game. Not sure if I'll go back and play it anymore, but I got a lot of time out of this, way more than any recent multiplayer title. It's been a long time since anything grabbed me. So I'm going to mark this as A tier, but maybe not S tier for me personally. Again, this is a personal list. Now, another thing, thoughts on the PC performance. This game, while it doesn't let you scale the graphics to an insane degree, which Battlefield had been known for in the past, it does look really nice at its highest settings. And again, as a multiplayer-focused title, it's not the kind of game where I'm slowing down to look at the details. So I think the graphics look good enough to be impressive, to capture the scenery. And I'm not looking at the fine details to see if there's ray-traced reflections in the puddles or anything like that. I'm playing the game. And with that in mind, I think that, yeah, from a PC performance standpoint, it was very scalable. It could run on low-end systems. It could run really well at pretty high settings at high-end systems. And so overall, I was very impressed from both a gameplay perspective and from a PC performance perspective. And I'd say this is kind of A tier for both. So that's another one that's pretty easy for me to rank as something that just instantly jumped out at me as something I really enjoyed, really liked it. Now, let's get into some of the other stuff here. Anything else that's just instantly jumping out at me as extremely easy to rank? I'm going to go with Ball Pit, or do you pronounce the X out loud? Ball X Pit. Okay, so this is a game, I play a lot of games on my Steam Deck, which is a PC, okay? And Ball Pit, Ball X Pit, again, don't know if you're supposed to pronounce the X, absolutely loved it. It's not some S tier game that just like absolutely blew my mind, but this is a roguelike game that is about bouncing, like it's the classic like block breaker kind of stuff. You bounce a ball at the blocks, you break them, but it's a roguelike. You get different abilities, power-ups, etc. There's bosses. Really found it interesting, highly enjoyed it until I had kind of beaten the main levels. I didn't feel the need to completely go through, and it has like a town building aspect, which I didn't really enjoy, I'm going to be honest. And, you know, with roguelikes, there's always the like higher challenge levels you can do. I didn't feel the need to keep playing beyond beating all the main levels, unlocking the main characters. Didn't feel the need to chase the higher difficulties on this one or to upgrade all of the town environments. But for the, I don't know how many hours I played on this, 15 or 20 hours or so that I played on it, I absolutely enjoyed every minute of it, then felt like I was done. Solid A tier game, and it's going to run on just about anything, so yeah, Steam Deck runs it beautifully. So absolutely love that game. And if you want something that performs well on low-end systems, highly recommend that one. In a similar vein, I'm going to go with Lumines Arise. So again, being old, I had a PSP when I was in high school, and Lumines was one of my favorite games on it. And it's, you know, a blocks drop down from the top, you know, kind of Tetris style, although the way the blocks actually interact is different than Tetris. And also it's, if you've played Tetris Effect, it's the same developers where for Lumines, I'm assuming it's pronounced Lumines, not Lumens, right? I don't know. Whatever. Again, a lot of these things, you know, I don't actually hear other people pronounce them out loud. I just play the game. Anyway, so Lumines Arise is similar to Tetris Effect in that there's gorgeous art in the backgrounds, and that there's a music aspect to the timing of the systems. And I've just got to say, again, I'm going to say very similar to my experience with Ball Pit. And this will probably be a game that I come back to quite a bit, actually. But once I beat its main kind of campaign mode that it has, I was done for now, but I was completely locked in and absorbed in this through that. And this will be a game that I definitely come back to every now and then over the years. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Like some of the best graphics. Again, puzzle style game, so it's going for a different sort of thing than some big campaign like that. But absolutely loved this. If there's any ranking within these systems, man, I don't know. I'd probably rank it like this so far on my A tier games. So yeah, absolutely enjoyed that one. Now, let's fill on this kind of note of these kind of smaller scale games that I want to come back to. Absalom looks amazing, another roguelike kind of game. And I'm very interested in this, but just haven't had a time to jump in more detail. I have a feeling that this is going to end up in my A or S tier of games from what I've seen of it, but I just haven't been able to give it the time it needs to really give any sort of solid opinion on it. Another roguelike game that's going to run well on anything. So this is going to be a game, actually, and as far as games I intend to give more time to later, this is above Ninja Gaiden 4 on my interest list. Is probably going to be the top of this tier. Absalom looks extremely interesting to me, but haven't really played it enough myself to give it a solid rating. And actually, that's also where I'm going to put another Ninja Gaiden game that released this year. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a 2D style game that looks really good to me. And I'm going to put it below Absalom, but above the actual 3D Ninja Gaiden 4 as far as games I'm intending to give some more time to that I think I'll probably rate highly once I've given it some more time. And actually, I'm going to throw Blueprints in here as well. And I'm probably going to put it behind these. So this game that I keep hearing is great. And I just haven't had a chance to really look at much this year. So my thoughts on this is I need to give it some more time to really give an opinion. I have a feeling I'm going to like it, though. Now, in these kind of smaller games that I'm rating pretty highly, I'm also going to throw in Monster Train 2. And this one is also going to be a pretty high ranking. I think I'm going to give this one, am I going to go A tier or B tier? I think I'm going to go A tier with this. So this is a roguelike deck builder. Maybe if you've played something like Slay the Spire, that would give you some idea of what this is, although it's certainly its own game with a very different gameplay format to Slay the Spire, but it's a roguelike deck builder. I love deck building games. I grew up playing trading card games like physical versions as a kid. And then Slay the Spire absolutely grabbed me. One of my all-time, like that would be an S tier game if it had released this year for me. Slay the Spire, absolutely love it. If you actually Hearthstone, when it first came out, I managed to be in the legend ranks on that a number of seasons, etc. for competitive online games, but didn't like the play to win aspect. So once they started releasing more and more decks, I'm just like, just didn't want to keep up with that. From a competitive standpoint, so kind of lost interest. So I really got into these single-player deck builder games, kind of scratched a lot of that same itch, but is not pay to win on the competitive aspect. So anyway, so I'm partial to deck builders, let's just say that, but Monster Train 2 is one of my favorites. I don't like it as much as Slay the Spire, but once you've played enough Slay the Spire, you need some other games to look at. Monster Train 2, I would highly recommend to anybody who enjoys games like Slay the Spire, as those single-player deck builder games. So yeah, definitely going to put this up here. I think I liked it better than Ball Pit. I think I liked it better than they're very different style of games. So there's not a lot of, these are all definitely A tier. It's hard to rank different styles of games. I think from my personal enjoyment standpoint and the amount of time I invested in it, we're probably going to go this way. On that. But I'm also probably more likely to come back to Luminous than I am to Monster Train 2 in the future. So I actually probably put it this way, as far as games I'll probably come back to and invest some time in. All right, what are we going to do next? So Call of Duty Black Ops 7. So I'm going to put this game in the D tier for me. So I just really didn't enjoy it. I was playing a lot of Battlefield 6 at the time. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 just felt like worse in pretty much every single possible way and did absolutely nothing to interest me. It's not going to go F tier because from I can respect Call of Duty. There's people who like that system. It's not objectively an awful game. It's just absolutely not at all in any way interesting to me. I've played enough Call of Duty games. I felt absolutely no need to play this one after benchmarking it a little bit on the channel, and didn't really even enjoy it much for the time I spent benchmarking it. It's doing nothing particularly interesting compared to previous Call of Duty games. But from a technical standpoint, it's not objectively terrible. It plays okay on a lot of systems. And from a gameplay standpoint, it's not objectively bad. It's just, if you've played any other Call of Duty game over the last, decade and a half or so, 2 decades now, man, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, when really the multiplayer really broke out, was when I was in high school, wasn't it? Geez, that must have been like 20 years ago. Yeah, so if you've played any Call of Duty game in the last 2 decades, I'm not sure you really need to play this one. So that's going to be a D tier for me. Other games that have jumped out at me. So let's talk multiplayer games as well. So Arc Raiders. This game absolutely blew up, Steam player count. I can completely respect people enjoying this, but I'm going to rank it from my own personal enjoyment standpoint. From my personal enjoyment standpoint, I've got to put this as like a C tier. Like, I'm just not that interested in this particular gameplay style. I think I'd put it above Assassin's Creed Shadows, but the extraction shooter format just doesn't grab me. I'm not interested very much in that gameplay loop. Perhaps if I had a group of people to play it with, and it was more about that social aspect of it, maybe I would enjoy it more. From a technical standpoint, I really thought I really liked its scalability on PC. So I really liked it from an optimization standpoint. I can really respect what it's doing, but it just doesn't personally interest me. So I could easily see this game being an S tier game for some people, an A tier game from some people. But for me, it's just not my style of game. I'm not interested in an extraction shooter. So for me, it's C tier. And honestly, from a gameplay enjoyment for me, it'd probably be below that, but I can respect what it's doing from an optimization standpoint, the PC side of things, and from like I said, I can respect the gameplay that it's setting up. I think it's a very good example of that type of gameplay, but that type of gameplay just doesn't interest me personally. So it's going to be a respectable game that's just not really for me. And I think that's also where I'm going to put Where the Winds Meet. So I played this one for several hours to benchmark it on the channel. And once I was done, I just had no interest in continuing it. But it was very interesting as far as what it was trying to do. Like the fact that this was a free-to-play game and actually was quite performant, other than when you get into large population centers where it struggles on the CPU side of things. So it was very performant, had a very nice art style that I think was carrying a lot of the load here. I'd put it similar to Assassin's Creed games as far as like there's a lot of stuff to do. I just don't personally find a lot of that stuff interesting to do. I did find it more interesting than Assassin's Creed Shadows, though. So I'll rank it above that within the C tier list. So C tier for me is really turning into games that like... I want to make sure we're understanding. I'm not saying C tier games are bad. I'm just saying they're not that interesting to me. That's where I'm ranking Where the Winds Meet. I could see that this could absolutely hit somebody's, if this is the style of game you're interested in, you want tons of stuff to do, and you can invest a ton of time into it. I could see this being high up on somebody else's list. But for me, I'm not looking for a bunch of content. I'm looking for something that just is amazing the entire time through and isn't wasting my time. This felt like somewhere I could waste a lot of time and be mildly interested most of that time, but it didn't really grab me. That's where I would rank that one. And where would I put some of these other games now that we've kind of established where we're at with that? I think Silent Hill F is going to be another C tier for me. And I'd be more interested in playing this one. Actually, out of these games within the C tier, this is the one that I may, if I get bored, actually come back and finish. just the gameplay style is more interesting to me. It's another one where I'd also say that, like, as an Unreal Engine 5 game, optimization-wise, it was more performant on the PC side than a lot of other Unreal Engine 5 games, but I think that's also because they didn't necessarily push the boundaries as much as a lot of UE5 games go, but it wasn't having a lot of stutter struggle issues, so that was good. Parts of it I was interested in, parts of it I wasn't. I do like survival horror, and this kind of meshes it with kind of some more Souls-like elements, and I do like a lot of Souls-like games, but I don't know, it didn't grab me. I played it for several hours, partially for benchmarking purposes and to get my thoughts on that. And once I had kind of played enough of it for the beginning to get some thoughts on the PC performance, nothing about it really grabbed me to want to keep playing. If I kind of hit a lull in having something else I'm more interested in playing, it's one that I may come back to. So actually, you know what? Oh man, I was thinking about moving it up to a B tier, but like I haven't played it enough to really give it a B tier. So I think I'm gonna leave it at C tier, and maybe if I actually finish the game. Because remember, I'm ranking these off of not having necessarily finished the games, because if I've played a number of hours of it and it didn't like grab my attention, I'm just ranking it, guys. This is my personal rankings list. I'm not saying I've finished all the games, right? Okay. What can we rank next? So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So this is a game that I'm going to admit I have not finished, but I am going to rank it. Am I going to rank it S tier or A tier? Okay, so here's the thing. I haven't had a chance to finish this game. It is very, very long, but it is just incredibly impressive. You want to talk about another world that just grabs you? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, again, it's not going to be for everybody, but man, the medieval and non-fantasy setting is extremely interesting, and the way they capture that, the conversations, the writing, and the gameplay systems, extremely interesting. Now, this is also, again, a game that you need to invest a ton of time into, and it's been hard. Like, other games keep grabbing my attention because I can finish them quicker. So I think because of that, right now, am I going to go A tier or S tier on it? The only thing holding me back from S tier is I keep getting interrupted because other games just kind of grab my attention, but I keep coming back to this game, and I do intend to finally finish it at some point. But something about it just hasn't grabbed my attention enough to be one of those games that I just kind of know life and put all other games on hold to finish. Expedition 33 was that. Like, I absolutely had to just finish that game, and I was losing sleep to stay up late and play it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 hasn't been that for me. So I could easily see this being S tier for some people. For me, it's definitely A tier, and I think I would put it at the top of this A tier list. But again, I'm still working my way through it. Slowly, because other games keep grabbing my attention, and I play and then finish those games and then come back to this one. So I think it's going to be top of my A tier, and it just didn't grab me where I just had to finish it the way Expedition 33 did. So I could easily see somebody else flipping those. What kind of grabs your attention? Love the systems-heavy RPG that really respects PC gaming. And let's give some thoughts on the PC performance. This game looks gorgeous and runs beautifully. My main criticism is I wish that its higher end settings, like it has an extreme settings tier that doesn't perform well. Everything below that performs beautifully. But at the extreme tier, I still feel like I wish sometimes like the shadows weren't so blocky looking. Like I wish that there was somehow on the PC side of things a way to push the graphics a little bit higher in some meaningful ways. But the graphics that are there are extremely performant, and they get the job done. And especially the forested areas are just incredible looking. So this is going to be, from a performance standpoint, A tier or S tier, and from a gameplay standpoint, A tier or S tier. And, oh man, as I look at the rest of these games, you know what? I think for now, I'm actually... I'm going to go S tier, but below Expedition 33 for me on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So I can always come back and fill in some of these with. I can change this as we get towards the end if I need to. So we don't have anything in the B tier right now. So what's going to be a B tier game for me this year? I think I've got to give it to Doom: The Dark Ages. So Doom: The Dark Ages is absolutely a game that when I started it, it grabbed my attention enough to finish it, but it in no way just was blowing my mind as I was playing it. And there were parts of the game like the parts where you're flying on the dragon creature and the parts where you're piloting the big mech type thing. I think those were actually genuinely somewhat bad. But the overall combat, I think, was fairly good. Now, from a PC graphics and optimization standpoint, I love the smooth frame time graphs. I do lament the fact that chasing extremely high frame rates is not as easy in this Doom game as Doom Eternal. Possibly, I mean, almost entirely due to the fact that they do mandate ray tracing to play the game. Now, that being said, despite the fact that ray tracing is a requirement to play the game, I do think they allow it to scale down to lower end cards. So if you have a card that supports ray tracing, even something like an RTX 2060, you can still get a decent experience in this game. But honestly, some of the graphics, like when you look at some of the textures up close, like weren't super impressive to me. For the kind of performance that you're getting. Now, you do get tons of enemies on screen. So there was a lot it was doing that is technically impressive. I love the smooth frame time graphs. So I'm going to give this kind of from an optimization standpoint. I might even put it as like, it's really interesting, maybe even A tier for what it's doing. But I wish it scaled to higher frame rates a little bit easier. And that would have been nice to see. And from a gameplay standpoint, it's B tier for me, which means very, very good. I want to be clear. B tier is very, very good. I enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it enough to finish it. And I'm going to be honest, guys, there's a lot of games I can't say that for. A lot of games, I'll play it a bit, I get my fill, and then I stop. Again, even my C tier games, that's kind of where we're at, where I'm like, I played these and I absolutely respected them, but I just didn't enjoy it enough to really have any interest in finishing it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is like, I haven't finished it yet just because it's really long, but I am absolutely still playing it and I will finish it. I've made it, I've made it long enough to even rank the game. I know this is a great game and I'm absolutely still playing it. I'm absolutely still finishing it. B tier game for me is like, I played it enough to finish it, but it didn't blow my mind. It was good. It was solid. And yeah, PC performance wise, also similar thoughts on that. Let's see. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be really hard for me to rank. I intend to give this game more time later, but at the same time, I've already given it 10 or 15 hours, and I've actually restarted it a couple of times to see if it'll just grab my attention. So guys, I don't know whether I want to put this in C tier or whether I want to put this in I tend to get... Okay, because right now my C tier is games that I probably won't come back to, but I respect what they're doing. And, I think I've actually got to put Rebirth in here as well. But it's possible that I will eventually give this another shot and rank it higher. Because I've had some games, like even games that I ended up absolutely loving, like Red Dead Redemption 2, where I initially bounced off of it 2 or 3 times when I started playing it. And then I started playing it like a 4th or 5th time, and suddenly it grabbed me, and I absolutely loved it, and I'd rank it like A or S tier. Rebirth feels like a game that could have ended up in my A tier, but for whatever reason, I think it's similar to the issues I have with games like Where the Winds Meet and Assassin's Creed Shadows, where there's just so much to do that a lot of the content is really high quality, but a lot of it feels like filler, and I'm just not looking for a game that is long because there's a lot of filler content. I want a game that is just 10 out of 10 all the way through, and I just, every time I get started on Rebirth, I'm just feeling like there's too much filler content for me, and it makes me lose interest in playing the game. Because also, it's really hard for me to not do filler content because of just, I don't know if it's like an OCD thing. Like, it's really hard for me to just skip content in games. But if the content that I probably should just be skipping, and then I'd enjoy the game more. So I think if I come back to Rebirth and just skip more of the content, I might rate it higher. But right now, I'm just feeling like I need to do the content, but I'm not really enjoying a lot of the content. I don't know, guys. I absolutely loved the original Final Fantasy VII. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So many great childhood memories on the original PlayStation. And I even played through the first part of this, trilogy of remakes, but I don't know, something about Rebirth I'm just bouncing off of. Maybe I'll be able to come back and finish that at some point. Okay, let's see. Where are we at with these games? Now, some of these I'm wondering, now that I've put them on my list, if I should have put them on here, because maybe I haven't given them enough of a fair shake. So what's one here I'm confident that I can actually rank? So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So I actually finished this game, actually very recently. Like I said, technically this is a 2024 December release. I didn't get around to playing it until this year. And in fact, I actually just played it a week ago. And I enjoyed the experience, but it wasn't, how should I put it? So this was definitely a game where I enjoyed it more as a movie than I enjoyed it as a game. So I think I'm going to put this as a B tier game. I enjoyed it more than Doom: The Dark Ages. Actually, interestingly, these are both running versions of id Tech's, ray traced engine. That's not why I'm putting them both in the B tier, but just if we think about the PC performance standpoint. But first, let me talk about this as a game. So I enjoyed this as an Indiana Jones movie, or maybe due to the length, this could have made an Indiana Jones miniseries. I think it would have made. So I enjoyed the adventure. I enjoyed going on the Indiana Jones adventure. The gameplay itself, though, the stealth and the combat were just okay. If I was ranking this on a gameplay standpoint, this would probably be C tier. It does absolutely nothing special. And just the gameplay did not grab me. If I was ranking this on I enjoyed the adventure story standpoint, this would probably be A tier. And so I think I'm averaging them out to a B tier. Now let's talk about the PC performance standpoint. I think that some people felt that this game was worse optimized than it was, just because if you use the game's presets, it's super heavy on VRAM and can perform terribly. But if you just turn down the texture settings, you don't notice much different visually, and it actually ends up performing pretty well, especially given the fact that it is ray tracing required. Now, this game also offers a path tracing mode, but I'm going to be honest, even though I ended up, for my, I benchmarked it on a bunch of stuff, but on my actual gameplay, I was using a 5090. I ended up turning off path tracing in parts just because I felt like the ray traced visuals already looked pretty good. The path tracing only looked slightly better and just performed noticeably worse. And especially when I got to the more jungly areas, the path tracing I thought was unacceptably low performance for playing on an RTX 5090. But I do like that it can scale down. And so as soon as you scale the graphic settings to reasonable settings, I think it plays pretty well. Now, I will say, though, visually, there was a lot of pop-in the areas that give you like a larger worldview. Again, the jungly area, I thought that, man, when you're riding the boat down the jungle river, I'm seeing a lot of pop-in in front of me, but elements of the visuals look really nice. So I think it also kind of gives this a B tier from what I thought of it from like kind of an optimization standpoint as well. Like you get pretty solid performance for pretty solid visuals, but none of it really blew me away. So I think, yeah, this is just an overall A tier, adventure for Indiana Jones, C tier gameplay, B or even A tier optimization and graphics. I'm going to put it in my B tier overall, and I think between the two here so far, I think I rank Indiana Jones higher between the two. So what else do we have on here? Okay, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Now, some of you be like, how is this a 2025 game? Remember, I'm doing a PC games list. This game was first available on PC in 2025. And I'll be honest, this is the game I've played the most recently. I actually just finished it yesterday. And I've got to say that this is going to be a very highly rated game for me, from both a PC graphics standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint. In fact, my only decision right now is whether to put this as A tier or S tier. Now, again, there's the my overall enjoyment standpoint. Here's what my actual thoughts are on the gameplay. So let's talk about the gameplay. I feel like the game was too long for the gameplay loop that it had. I think that by the time I got about 15 to 20 hours into the game, I was ready for the gameplay to end. I had got my fill of now that being said, the gameplay that was there was really well done. I think the compared to the original Last of Us, I think that the combat and stealth was improved dramatically for this game. So I think the overall actual gameplay was very, very good. And if it had lasted for about 15 to 20 hours, I think I would have given the gameplay S tier. But I felt like the gameplay, it ended up taking me, now, like I said, it's hard for me to, skip stuff. So when there's a safe, I'm going to try to find the safe code. If there's shelves to search, I'm going to search all of those shelves. I'm that kind of gamer. So this ended up taking me, I think it was somewhere around 25 hours to finish. And again, I think if the game had been 20 hours long, it'd be closer to S tier for me. And I think that's also how I'm feeling about the story. So the story, overall, man, the acting and the animation, because it's also like let's talk about a little bit about what I think about the graphics and optimization. This is in some ways the best looking game I've ever seen. It is, when we're talking purely about the characters, their animation, and capturing the performance of humans in a digital, gameplay format, some of the best, probably the best I've ever seen. The actual graphics, I think when you look at it not too closely, is also some of the best graphics I've ever seen. But you can tell it's a 2020 game. When you look at a lot of the textures closely, I think honestly, if all of the textures and materials were just slightly higher quality, this would potentially be the best looking game I've ever seen. But a lot of it's being held by the art rather than the technical standpoint. Now, you can definitely tell this is not, the real-time global illumination and the real-time ray trace reflections. This is baked. But I've got to say, from a graphic standpoint, this is probably the absolute top of the older way of doing things. Everything is baked lighting, but that also helps the performance. And I will say, compared to the first Last of Us on PC, which when it first launched, I think was a bit of a performance nightmare. It did not perform well for what we were seeing. Last of Us Part 2 released in a much better state. Again, I think that it benefits from a lot of the older style of doing things, with baked lighting rather than doing everything in real time. Graphically, I thought it was actually very impressive. When you look at things up real close, you can tell it shows its age a little bit. But yeah, the character animations and everything. Now, the story, I feel the same way about it as I did with the gameplay, where it, if it had been shorter, I think it would have been S tier, but it overstayed its welcome for me a little bit. Like I said, when this game was hitting the 15-hour mark, I was feeling ready for it to end. And when it hit the 20-hour mark and then clearly had a lot more left to go, I was starting to lose interest a bit. So I've got to say, the last 7 hours or so of this game, I was kind of forcing myself to keep going, but I was invested enough to finish it up. So I think I'm going to drop this one down to an A tier game rather than an S tier game, but it's pretty close, and I'd put it at the top of my A tier games. I think This would have been an S tier game if it was shorter. I think they should have cut some of this game, and that would have been to its benefit. Because I think the second half of the game was much less enjoyable. I'd probably say the last third of the game was much less enjoyable than the first 2/3. I think I would say. So I think that this is a game where if they had just given us less of this game, it would have been S tier, and then what we have puts it A tier. And also, again, I was very impressed with the character animation and the performance captures. That was really impressive. Okay, Oblivion Remastered. Let's talk about that. So Oblivion Remastered, technical aspect, this is F tier. This was an awful performance. UE5 slapped on top of an old engine in a way that compounded the worst aspects of the old engine's performance, which is that when you go into certain new areas, it kind of loads into a new zone and stutters. The original game did that too. You would hope in a remaster that they fix that, but instead managed to not only keep all of those original stutters, but they added in all of the worst Unreal Engine 5 stutters. And also, while the new graphics in many ways look really nice, I think you lose some of the charm of the original game's graphics. So I would say overall, what is this game doing for me? Like the original Oblivion, to me, is an S tier game. It's not as good as Morrowind. I might like it a little better. Do I like it better than Skyrim? I don't know. I don't know. That's not those games aren't on my option list today, so we don't need to get into that. But it's okay. The original Oblivion was fantastic. That's an A or S tier game. Honestly, for me personally, the original Oblivion was an S tier game. But what has the remaster done? In many ways, it's made the game worse because of its technical aspect, making the game hard to run. But the original game is still good, although it does show its age in some ways. I don't know where to rank this, guys. I've got to say it's kind of did we really need this? It didn't inspire me to replay Oblivion. I went in a few hours and I was like, okay, I've played the original Oblivion. I'm not going to play this anymore. The original game is so good, but the technical performance here is so bad. And why would I rank a game so far down for its technical performance? Because it's a remaster. In my opinion, the entire point of a remaster is to improve the technical aspect of the game. And while this in some ways improved the visuals dramatically, it loses a bit of the charm, and then it's technically a disaster. So I'm going to put this C tier, probably. And probably as far as would I ever come back to this? I'm much more likely to come back to Silent Hill F Arc Raiders or Final Fantasy Rebirth. I'm definitely never going to play Where the Winds Meet or Assassin's Creed Shadows anymore. So we'll put it here in my C tier. Okay, we're getting down to games. Hades 2 is still here, guys. I'd missed this. Okay, Hades 2, this is an easy S tier. And for me personally, it's above Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and below Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I think any of these games could be Game of the Year, depending on who you are as a person. And for me personally, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Game of the Year, Hades 2, close second, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is also amazing. But these two are more, just grabbed me more this year. All of these are absolutely fantastic games. Hades 2, if you played the first Hades, you know what to expect. It does all of that, and then more so. I think the only thing holding it back for me is that I've already played so much of Hades 1 that I'm just not quite as gripped with Hades 2. It's definitely, in many ways, just doing what Hades did, but better. But because I'd already spent so much time in Hades, Hades 2, I haven't put as much time into, but this is definitely a game that I come back to for years and continue to do runs and grind out, more difficult, more difficulty levels with the roguelike stuff. So definitely an S tier game, but not my game of the year. Where are we at with the rest of these? Some of these I might end up deciding not to rank because maybe I didn't give them enough of a fair shake. Split Fiction is definitely just, I want to give this more time. My problem is my kids are a little bit young to play this with me. And this is a game that I think I want to play at some point with my kids. So once they're a little bit older, I'm going to give this more time. And it's probably going to be very highly rated, but this is really just a game that you want to play with somebody. And I think I need to play it with my kids once they're a little bit older and more able to play the game. Let's see. Inzoi, I played this for a few hours, mostly for benchmarking purposes. And honestly, maybe I just shouldn't rate it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But I'm not the intended audience. Maybe I just shouldn't rank this. I'm just going to end up deciding not to rank this. Civilization 7, I'm going to go D tier. I like it better than Call of Duty Black Ops 7, but in many ways it's worse than previous Civilization games. So I only played it for a few hours and was like, I wasn't getting that I must play the next turn vibe, and mostly I was getting like, I'm just going to go back and play older Civ games. Like I like 5 and 6 better. I'll just play those when I want to play Civ. So I'm going to go D tier on that. Let's see. Dying Light the Beast. This is going to be a C tier for me. I have very similar thoughts on this one to Arc Raiders in that I really respect what I played, but once I was done playing far enough for benchmarking purposes, it's just not the style of game that's for me. I could easily see this being somebody's A tier or S tier game, but it's just not for me. The gameplay style, I don't know, guys. A lot of the more like, I don't know how to put it. I respect what this is doing. I think what it's doing extremely well, and I just don't think that I am the right person for this game. Now, thoughts on PC performance? PC performance I thought was very, very solid. You know what? I want to go back and retest this game because I know it has ray tracing added now. It didn't at launch. So this is actually a game I want to revisit for benchmarking. Are you guys interested in me testing out the performance with the ray tracing patch that I know has... I'm kind of late to testing that, but... Anyway, so I respect this game. The frame time graphs were, for the most part, very smooth. I'm so glad they didn't use Unreal Engine 5, because when I was testing that first town area with tons of the zombies... I know that UE5 games would have just been choking on the CPU, whereas this had a beautiful frame time graph, and it looks good, but not like doing anything absolutely special. Gameplay-wise, like I said, I really respect what it's doing, but I'm just not that interested in playing it further myself. So I'm going to put this at the top of my C tier. As just C tier games are really games that I think could grab somebody else, but it just didn't grab me. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that. Chronos: The New Dawn, I have not played enough to rank, but I would like to play more. So I'm going to put this on probably the bottom of my I intend to give this more time list. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put it at the bottom of my I intend to give this more time later list. Spider-Man 2 is also a game that I intend to give more time at some point. Played the beginning, mostly to benchmark it. Did not enjoy the PC performance. Thought it was terrible. Perhaps it's gotten better. And by terrible, I mean terrible for what it is. Like, somehow it managed to, in my opinion, look similar to the first one on PC, but perform worse. That's kind of was my feelings on that. Maybe I should revisit it. Maybe it's gotten better since launch. And also, gameplay-wise, I do intend to play this game at some point, mostly with my kids. My kids really enjoyed watching me play the first one. And so this would be a game where if it was just me, probably wouldn't play. But if it's me hanging out with my kids, there's some games where I want to, like, there's games I'm not going to play with my kids in the room, like Last of Us Part 2. There's games that I will play with my kids in the room, and they enjoy it, and that's part of the fun for me. And Spider-Man 2 is probably going to be there. So I'll probably play this game with my kids at some point. Didn't really grab me from the start. Okay, what are we left with? Like I said, I'm probably just going to not rank Inzoi or Inzoi. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Again, it's kind of like a The Sims sort of game. I didn't like its performance on PC, and I didn't like the game. but it's probably just not a game that's for me. So I'm going to leave that here. Mafia: The Old Country. I'm going to also put this as C tier, where it's a game that's just kind of, I think somebody else might really like it. It didn't really grab me. The gameplay itself just seemed kind of like I've done this sort of sneaking around and whatnot and combat style a million times, and other games have probably done it better. And the story this game, I feel like if the story had grabbed me, this could have moved up. But so it's, it's gameplay wise, kind of like Indiana Jones for me, where it's like, gameplay wise, it's kind of C tier. And then with Indiana Jones, the adventure story grabbed me, kept playing it, A tier on that, and average out to a B tier. For the Mafia game, the story didn't really grab me either. I'd also kind of put it C tier. It wasn't bad. I think somebody else might really enjoy this. I just didn't really interest me. Now, if I'm looking at these games and thinking of which of these I'm actually the most likely to come back and finish at some point, I could actually see myself giving this another shot pretty realistically. Because again, I did not finish. This was a DNF for me where it was just like played it for several hours, benchmarked it, didn't really see the need to keep playing off camera. But I'm actually, every now and then, I kind of think maybe I should fire that up because maybe if I just go a little further in the story, it's going to grab me. So this is going to go at the top of my C tier as far as the most likely for me to actually continue playing. Except if I'm ranking my C tier based on that, I'm going to now move up Final Fantasy Rebirth as the second most likely for me to continue playing, and then Silent Hill F as third. So I'm now ranking my C tier as the most likely for me to actually come back and give it another shot. This one, probably just because I heard it's not very long, I might give it a chance to finish it. This one is the one I'm actually most interested in giving another shot, but it's just so long. It just sounds like, really, am I really going to do that? Do I have that kind of time? So it seems like there's a lot of filler content. And Silent Hill F, I could just see there being a day where I just give it another shot. It's the kind of game that seems like I should really like it, but for some reason it just wasn't clicking for me. Mafia: The Old Country, maybe if I'm in the mood for a Mafia story, I'll give it another shot. Okay, Borderlands 4. Oh, wait, no, I didn't talk about Mafia's PC performance. It looks pretty good for a UE5 game, but also being a UE5 game, it's pretty heavy. So PC performance-wise, I've got to say it's Unreal Engine 5. It can look pretty good, but nothing this did absolutely blew me away visually, and it was pretty heavy. So it was okay, for a UE5 game. Didn't seem quite as stuttery as some other UE5 games, so let's give it that, at least from the portion I played. So I'd also kind of give it a C tier for an optimization to visuals ratio on PC. Okay UE5 stuff, there's certainly worse. Let's talk Borderlands 4. So I've played and finished some Borderlands games, but not all of them. I feel like from a gameplay standpoint, again, it's just like, I just didn't feel the need to finish another Borderlands looter shooter. I feel like after playing the first two, I was kind of mostly done with Borderlands, and then they keep coming out, and I'm just not that interested in playing it more. From a optimization standpoint, it was awful, like F tier at launch, and it has been patched recently and is a little bit better. I'd move its optimization standpoint probably up to D tier, and its gameplay from the amount I played, I would say for me personally is kind of C tier to B tier. I'm just not that interested in finishing it though, and so yeah, I think this is going to be another C tier game. From a gameplay standpoint, this is at the top of my C tier. From an optimization standpoint, it's not even C tier. Man, this is another one I might end up, like, if the looter shooter kind of itch grabs me, this might be one that I end up giving the gameplay another shot. But certainly less likely to do that than for these two. Potentially more likely than Silent. Yeah, I'm probably going to go about here within my C tier on this. And if this was a PC optimization focused list, it would be lower. Outer Worlds 2. This is going to be another C tier game for me. And optimization standpoint, man, the first hour or so of the game, it seemed like everything was going so well, despite being Unreal Engine 5. Then you get to the first more open area with a town, and the CPU performance is just disastrous. And then if you try to turn on the ray tracing, it doesn't even perform well on like a 9800X 3D. And the visuals are really kind of mid. So the performance to visual ratio, I've got to put down at like D tier for me. And then the gameplay standpoint, man, it seems like the kind of game I would like, but I just kind of didn't. Do I see myself giving it another shot at some point? Maybe. Probably more likely than Borderlands 4, but I've got to say, based on the first several hours, it just didn't grab me. As soon as I got to the town and there was a bunch of stuff to do, I was just like, I don't want to do any of this. I'm just not invested in this story. I'm not invested in these characters. And it just felt like now there's a lot of things to do, and this feels like a chore. And I'm maybe just because I'm a grumpy old man, that's how a lot of games hit me these days, where I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of things to do, and I don't really feel compelled to do any of them. That's where I'm at with Outer Worlds 2, based on the first several hours of the game. Wukong Fallen Feathers. Another game where I played the first several hours, initially just to benchmark it, and it felt like another Souls-like game. Also, performance-wise was not great, and I didn't like that when they patched it, they just kind of lied to you about the rendering resolution, which kind of just offended me. And due to that, I would say I was going to call it a C-tier game, but just because they personally offended me by lying about the rendering resolution, with their patch to supposedly improve performance, I'm just going to move it down to D tier just because they made me mad. So congratulations, guys. And yeah, I think I'm just going to choose not to rank this one. I don't think I really played enough of it to give it a fair shake. I mean, for me, like, how much am I interested in this? F tier. But I feel like it's probably unfair because I'm just not the target audience for this game. So we'll just pretend this game wasn't one of the ones I said I would rank. Okay, so that's where I'm at, guys. Any of these S-tier games could have been Game of the Year for different people, I think. For me, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 absolutely just grabbed me. I had to finish it. Everything about it I loved. I absolutely loved the gameplay, absolutely loved the story. Performance-wise on PC to visuals, I thought the game was gorgeous. Didn't blow me away from an optimization standpoint, but also didn't offend me. And being a UE5 game, that's actually a win in and of itself. Hades 2, amazing roguelike. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, amazing RPG that I just... for me right now, it's really hard to get into these super long games, and it's managing to keep me with it. I keep coming back to it. A-tier games here were all absolutely amazing games. These are all great. B-tier games, solid, grabbed my attention, played it all the way through. These C-tier games, just, I think it's really more that they're not for me than that they're necessarily bad. These D-tier games, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's more just that these games all kind of just offended me and probably could have been C tier, but they just kind of they did like Civ 7 is just worse than previous Civs. So it's like what we had, but worse. Like, does that mean it's bad? Well, why does it exist? Why does Call of Duty Black Ops 7 exist? Why did we need another Call of Duty other than they just reskinned the game to make some more money this year? And this game probably should be C tier, but they just made me mad, so screw it. It's D tier. It's my list. And then Monster Hunter Wilds, like I said, I hate everything about this game from a technical standpoint and a gameplay standpoint, but I'm honestly never been a huge Monster Hunter fan. But I certainly find it worse than Monster Hunter Worlds, which was the last one I played. So again, why does this exist? I intend to give more time later. So these are all games that I'm probably going to end up enjoying once I put more time into it. but I just haven't had the time to put into it yet at this point. And I'm extremely excited to play some Absalom. This is probably the next game I dive into in depth. What do you guys think? I know this was not my usual content style, but I thought I'd put out an end of the year list, which is mostly focused on how much I actually enjoyed the game, but also gave my thoughts on the PC performance while we did it, since that's more what my channel's all about. Let me know what you guys think, and I hope you all have an excellent day.